people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Earlier today, you may have heard that the IBA held a press conference in reference to the two controversial athletes in this year's Paris Games. Imaine Khalif and Ling Yuting, the two fighters who have failed sex tests and are now guaranteed Olympic medals. Umar Kremlev, the IBA president, said female boxing is being killed, and I don't want that to happen. Women's sport is being destroyed. We cannot allow it. He makes a series of vitriolic personal attacks against the IOC president, Thomas Bach.
Is he being a bit over the top? Is he being theatrical?
No, I don't think he is. With so much of this left to the imagination, no one really knows what they're dealing with, and because they don't, what says something like this doesn't happen again in the next games?
What says that this doesn't spill over into another women's category in another women's sport?
And another, then another, and another, until the future of women in sport pales in comparison to how it was intended and how things used to be. We really don't know, so when Umar Kremlev says this, I don't think he's joking, and he may not be completely wrong. Dr. Ioannis Philopatos, former IBA medical chair, said, let's protect women. Women's boxing must be for women, and only women. Two categories, women's sport, men's sport. I have heard recently that we don't know exactly what a woman is. That's not possible.
This entire fiasco bears a striking resemblance to the identity politics we see here in the West.
Though once again, with so many of the details left to the imagination, we don't actually know that this argument has anything to do with that argument, or if it's something else entirely, because so much isn't being divulged, so much isn't being said.
We don't know.
We're not able to disclose the results of any tests, but you can read between the lines where that sits. And of course, what I'd also like to mention here is that yesterday evening and this morning we've received letters from the NOCs in Chinese Taipei and Algeria respectively informing us that we can't disclose any information pertinent to either boxer. So we've had that information through early hours this morning and this morning, so you can see what that means. So again, read between the lines.
Fighters have lawyered up, and now what they're telling the people at the IBA is they cannot further discuss in detail their findings. The findings that saw those two fighters banned last year.
Gee, it's almost like they have something to hide.
So let's put our cards on the table, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the way it is. These fighters are going to medal, whether you like it or not.
They are.
And whether I like it or not. Don't expect the IOC to conduct a cheek swab of their own, a test of their own, to refute the IBA's findings. They're not going to do that. They either don't want to know,
Or they know, but they don't want you to know.
me to know, us to know, the world to know, that if it is as simple as these fighters being biological women, ex-athletes, then why the hell would you hide it when you can end this controversy here and now?
If you could put all of this to bed with a simple cheek swab, then why wouldn't you? Maybe it's because you can't. Maybe it's because you do have something to hide, and what you have to hide would have excluded you from these Olympic Games.
That this should have never been allowed to go on this long, let it get this far, but the IOC did.
Why?
Does it even matter at this point? Chris Roberts, IBA CEO, said in 2022 there were a number of concerns about these two boxers. The tests were taken to a laboratory in Istanbul. The next tests were done at the World Championships in India the following year. It came through that the chromosomes of both boxers were ineligible. Now, what would have rendered the both of them ineligible to compete in a women's category?
The same thing that those fighters as lawyers don't want the IBA talking about.
23rd of March, the results came through, and it demonstrated the chromosomes that we refer to within the technical and competition rules that make both boxers ineligible. That was then further ratified by the BOD, our board of directors. It was taken there to remove both boxers from the championships. That was on the 26th of March 2023. We had a letter that Mr. Yarolimpos had put forward to the board, and with this it explained fully what the situation was. We've got a document that Mr. Yarolimpos sent to both boxers, and within that document, and we'll let you see these documents, there is an attached referral to the blood tests that were taken. Okay, we're not in a position, due to non-disclosure and medical in confidence, we're not able to give you the actual blood test itself, but what we can show you is the front cover copy with the annex, which we'll put up on show shortly to indicate what that was, and a signature on the bottom of both documents by both boxers who received those blood tests accordingly. Both boxers had the possibility to appeal to CAS within a 21-day period, further to which the Chinese Taipei boxer Tinglin, she did not appeal, and that was a legally binding result. And on the back of that, we then had the discussions with, and indeed further discussions with Imam Khalif about the results on the boxer's behalf. Now, she did challenge that on the 14th of April 2023, and challenged the CAS appeal. IBA paid for the costs on this, or the majority of the costs. The boxer was expected to pay part of those costs, and preceding that, it didn't happen. So on the 27th of July, the CAS, the Court of Arbitration and Sport, issued a termination order, and the proceedings against the appellant did not, she didn't pay, we paid the cost, but on the back end of that, the results came out that no further action to be taken.
And that's where they left it. That's where the IBA left it.
Lin Yuten didn't try to appeal the IBA's decision. Briefly, it looked like Mon Khalif was going to, then the appeal was withdrawn.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Up until the IOC lifted the ban on these fighters and allowed them to compete in these Olympic Games,
Creating this controversy.
Now ask yourselves, why did neither Lin Yuten or Imam Khalif fight this? Why didn't they further the appeal process?
Maybe it's because they knew they got found out and they knew they couldn't beat the science.
Not at that time, not with the IBA, but the IBA is stripped of recognition by the IOC for alleged match fixing and corruption.
The IOC's in charge. The IOC decided to let these two boxers box.
So now the two boxers are using what is tantamount to doctor-patient confidentiality to mitigate how much information gets released, how much information gets out there, what the IBA can and cannot say. Now you tell me if that's how someone behaves if they don't have something to hide, if they don't have something they want you to find out. That if you can end this controversy yourself, then why don't you?
Because you can't.
The most you can do is suppress what information gets out there. Is omitting information, disguising it, the earmark of someone that is morally upright.
Somebody who's doing the right thing.
It's not even that the IBA are saints. If you don't want us to trust them, we won't trust them. But what real reason are you giving us that we should trust you?
What are you even doing?
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, as it pertains to this past weekend's Riyadh season show, and what dollar amounts were paid out to the fighters, that is, what was actually reported to the commission per a tweet from Dan Rafael via the California Athletic Commission.
And yes, many have much higher guarantees than what the contract says.
Terrence Crawford was guaranteed an estimated $2.5 million. Israel Madrimov close to $1 million at 750 G's. Isaac made $1 million. Jose made $500,000. Andy made close to $1 million at 900,000. Jarrell Miller made half that amount.
This is the big Saudi money everybody's talking about.
Are you hard of hearing? Do you not pay attention? This is just what was reported to the commission. This isn't everything that was paid out to the fighters, and likely not everything they were even guaranteed.
I don't understand.
The state of California can only tax the fighters what is reported to the commission. What dollar amount is reported. But in all likelihood, the fighters received more than what they claimed and more than what is reported.
Not just the pay-per-view upside.
For tax purposes. So hypothetically speaking, if you only reported $2.5 million to the state, well, that's all they're going to tax. But what if you only report $2.5 million where you're getting $5 million? A 6. Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm in kindergarten telling you guys this stuff. You should know this. They can only tax what you claim. But if you don't claim the difference, that's tax-free.
But how do they get the fighters the difference if they're not going to claim it?
That's between them and God.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who cares? But this is a common practice in the sport of boxing, and it didn't start with Riyadh season, that you might claim a portion of the dollar amount to the state so they can take out the taxes, but the rest of what you get, you don't report it so you can skip out on those taxes. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that's what a lot of people do.
Isaac got $1.5 million? That's more than he was guaranteed to fight Gervonta.
More than what they claimed to the state, I should say. And yeah, there's a difference. This number is about 3 times more than that number was, but it's because it's been 2 years since he fought Gervonta Davis. His name value has increased, his marquee value, so it makes sense that they paid him more.
And he was a champion going in, a reigning champion. He might not be a champion anymore, but he was a defending champion going into this weekend's fight.
So it did make sense that they would pay him a little more to box on this show, to box on this card. It costed him his belt, but
At least he got to make some money.
more than he was guaranteed to fight Gervonta Davis as a late replacement 2 years ago. 2 years later, he made a nice chunk of change for losing his belt.
This makes Gervonta Davis' resume take a little hit.
Nah. Somebody tried to do that yesterday. Why is this not a good look for Tank?
Because one of these great fighters on his great resume was so easily beaten by Rayo.
This ain't got nothing to do with Tank.
What you
Pitbull
mean?
still won a belt after Tank.
Yeah, he won a belt. From Rolly Romero.
Are we going to sit here and pretend that Rolly Romero is a good boxer? That Isaac is legitimized by beating Rolly, who was already beaten by Gervonta Davis, who also beat Isaac?
These guys are in a circle jerk.
You can't discredit him.
Dude, Ryu just showed you it's easy as hell to beat Pitbull off the back foot.
Styles make fights, man. Bro, this is crazy coming from a guy that thought Rayo was going to get beat. Now you just throwing
Yeah,
out.
I did.
So now you
Yeah, I
going to throw
did.
out Pitbull? Like, what type of shit is that?
Man, he's not that good like I thought he was.
That guest's eyes have been open as to how limited Isaac Pitbull Cruz is, though ahead of this weekend's show, my eyes were already open. I picked Rayo to win. I picked him to win a decision, and he did.
I was never convinced of Isaac. The best win of Isaac's career, or the career highlight of his career, I should say, is in a fight that he lost. The fight with Gervonta, that he did all right as a late replacement. Better than people expected him to, because people didn't know what to expect. They didn't know him.
But because he was able to put up a fight, because he didn't get knocked out, because he did all right, all of a sudden he's supposed to be a world beater? Besides losing to Gervonta Davis, what's the highlight of his career?
Beating Rolly.
Okay, and when it comes to Rolly, what's the highlight of his career? Who did Rolly Romero beat that legitimizes him as an elite scalp or as somebody outside of stupid sound bites and stupid things that he says in an interview, stupid faces that he makes? You tell me, what's the highlight of this guy's boxing career? Who did he beat?
If he's the guy that's supposed to legitimize Isaac, what legitimizes him?
There isn't an answer to that question.
People are finding out about you.
They're starting to understand. They're starting to wake up that a lot of these guys Gervonta Davis has been pouncing on aren't very good.
Rolly isn't very good. He got beat by Isaac, and Isaac just got outboxed by Rayo, he got knocked out by Edwin De Los Santos.
In that way, it might have actually made more sense for Gervonta Davis to fight Edwin De Los Santos for knocking out Rayo than fighting Frank Martin
For beating who?
doing what? Going life or death with Artem Haratunian? Because I didn't forget, even if a lot of people did. He didn't look good in that fight. He didn't look good last year. Maybe that's why Gervonta fought him.
People are starting to wake up.
These guys that Gervonta's been pouncing on aren't very good. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Canelo Alvarez's trainer and manager, Eddie Reynoso, has revealed that they're eyeing a potential fight for Canelo in Japan in December if he beats Edgar Berlanga on September 14th.
Canelo Alvarez may have been stripped of the IBF title.
He's not undisputed anymore, but he still has the other three. He still has the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO. Though going to Japan, you don't get the impression that he's going over there to fight someone over there in defense of those belts. No, you get the sense that if he's going to Japan, maybe it's for a novelty fight, a novelty act like the one that Pacquiao just had with that kickboxer, that maybe some wealthy promotion over there wants to bring Canelo over for a few dollars. Nothing serious, nothing heavy.
This is from Salvador Rodriguez, otherwise known as Chava, ESPN.
That they're not closed off to offers that Turki Al-Sheikh might make them, but if they beat Berlanga in September, as they hope, Canelo could fight in Japan in December. The plan is to go beyond the American continent.
Why would they want to do that?
Alternate arms of revenue in other boxing markets because they seem to have exhausted most of their options here. Only one or two are left on the table. It feels like the Terence Crawford fight died on the vine this past weekend when Crawford looked human at 154.
With Israel Madrimov. If that's how you look with that guy at 154, how would you look with Canelo at 168?
We haven't even had that conversation yet here on this channel, but you can read the room, see people's reactions, that perhaps Terence Crawford needs to abort that mission. 168 for Canelo may be too high a mountain to climb, which would leave Canelo with only David Benavidez. Only David Benavidez as an alternative to a big fight in America.
Since the Crawford fight is a no-go.
Though if what Canelo's talking about is going to Japan at the end of this year, that tells us everything we need to know about the Benavidez fight.
What fight?
Exactly. A part of me was holding out hope that the Edgar Berlanga fight, a fight that most people are favoring Canelo Alvarez to win, a fight where he should take minimal wear and tear. He should beat this guy easy. If he does, maybe he'll fight David later on in the year? Apparently not. Not if he's going to Japan or entertaining that.
Going beyond the American market, the idea that he would reopens the door for a Chris Eubank Jr. fight. Chris Eubank Jr. in the UK, if the goal now is to fight on foreign soil, make foreign money.
Remember that a little over a week ago, that was said to have been on the table, a potential Chris Eubank Jr. fight, but they just couldn't make the numbers work. Make the numbers work in America. In the UK, they might.
Seems to me that Canelo Alvarez is fully aware he's running out of options in America, fights that he can sell.
There's only 1 or 2 left, and he's looking elsewhere. 2 other markets, 4 other options that could still make him money, but won't impress his critics and won't silence them.
He ain't worried about it.
There's one thing that's consistent with Canelo Alvarez that has been consistent for many years now. He marches to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't take anybody's marching orders. So if somebody's got something to say about him,
He ain't worried about it.
for better or worse, this is a fighter who climbed to the top of the Forbes list as the sport's highest paid boxer without any help from Turki Al-Sheikh, without any Saudi money. If he's fixed on doing something, someone wants him to alter his plans, it's going to cost them a lot of dough.
Wouldn't call this good news per se.
As this would further dampen any hopes that Canelo Alvarez might fight David Benavidez and shut his critics up. Apparently not.